Content warning, suicide. Before I go ahead, I'm not condoning anything that I did, nor am I saying you should do it. This is just me confessing to what happened and how I feel. If that is not good enough, then I can't stop you from deleting this post and banning me. I'm here to confess the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I'm not promoting any behavior by me as good, I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just stating how I feel. The story dash. I won't mention any names or ages, but me and my brother were adults when the event in the thread title happened. But I'll start from childhood. My brother was always an absolute nightmare. He would throw insane tantrums in the middle of stores, restaurants, airplanes and movie theaters. He would piss his pants, smash his head off the ground, hit other people, anything to get what he wanted, and sometimes my parents would just eventually give in and give him what he wanted to avoid more public embarrassment. Sometimes he set fires, piss and shit everywhere, and even kick our dog. When I was 12 and my brother was 14, my father left the family. He just couldn't take my brother's shit anymore. I'm surprised he lasted that long. I don't blame him for leaving. It's my mother I feel sorry for. Her life was ruined by this kid. Fast forward to adulthood, he's basically the same. Except more self-aware and cruel. And this, as well as reasons I'm going to mention, is the reason I struggle to sympathize with him. His terrible behavior could have been forgiven if it ended as he got older, but as an adult, he didn't throw the same type of tantrum, but he continued to say and do awful things, and since he was an adult, regardless of his disorder, he should have been held accountable for what he did. As a fully grown adult he would tell my mother that he didn't love her, she was there purely to buy him things, and she didn't mean shit to him, and she should just die and leave him his inheritance ASAP. He failed to keep a job down for more than a month or two because of his scrappy personality, so he spent most of his adult life mooching off my mother and playing video games. My mother had no strength left to argue with him, so she started to give in to all his demands. Whenever he didn't get what he wanted he would begin to manipulate and get angry or just shout and insult her. Here's the main event dash. My brother smoked weed. I have no idea how he got it because he had no social connections, so I suppose it was the internet. I'm sure it was weed that made him paranoid. He started accusing me and my mother of stealing from him. He used this as an excuse to quit one of his jobs, so he could come home, set up cameras around the house so he could watch us constantly to make sure we weren't stealing from him. We of course never stole anything. One day he got very angry and said to my mother things like "No wonder dad left you, you're too ugly to love and too ugly to r /p. No man would even r /pu, worthless sl/t. That was the final straw for me. No matter what your disorder, that is an abysmal thing to say. I told him that he was the worst person I've ever seen, he's a repulsive human being, no one will ever love him, he will never get a girlfriend, he will die alone and miserable, and that he should just go and kill himself because the entire family would be better off without him. He was shocked by this and so was my mother. I shouted extremely loud. My brother left the room and went back into his bedroom. My mother said it's understandable that I'm angry, but I shouldn't be angry at him. But why not? He's still an adult and should still be held accountable. Autism doesn't excuse this shitty behavior, this is not about his disorder. The childhood tantrums I could accept, but this stuff he does now is basically sociopathic, and he's not in his childhood anymore. He knows fair well what he's doing. Just because you have a disorder doesn't mean you're not still a terrible person. Anyway, one day I'm at work and I get a call on my phone. I ignore it as I'm busy, but I get my line manager telling me there's an urgent call at reception for me and I should take it. It's my mother. She's crying her eyes out. She told me eventually that my brother had killed himself by throwing himself out of his bedroom window. We lived in a flat that was 9 stories above ground. I was shocked at first, but then I realized this is probably the best thing that could have happened, mainly for my mother. She would no longer have to have her life ruined by this monster. I was still upset to some degree, and I was a bit remorseful for what I said, but I completely believe that my brother wasn't just a beautiful soul with issues, he was a crappy person in general, that showed no desire to take responsibility for his actions. I have some remorse, but not that much. It's been years since this happened, and my mother is so much happier now, despite the trauma of losing a child. She is dating, back into full-time work, and looks after herself. She had to go to therapy for a while, but she looks far more stable, now that the world's biggest brain tumor has finally gone from her life. I'm not encouraging anyone to do the same. I feel some remorse and regret, but a big part of me is glad he's gone and is satisfied with the outcome. He chose to take his own life, and I won't take responsibility for that. But I will take responsibility for what I said. If my brother was alive again now I wouldn't say the same thing, but if I had the power to bring him back to life, I would not. I want him to stay dead. That's just how I feel. Not saying it's right. One thing that is right, is that my family is literally happier now he is gone. Like I said, I'm simply expressing how I feel, not condoning my actions. Hopefully my confession is not too much. My boyfriend has been heavily invested in making AI art lately. He then loves to send me tons and tons of images of what the AI coughed up, and he always says things like, "Look what I just made." This has been going on for about a month now, ever since he discovered what AI art even was. This most recent time, my phone was blowing up with work emails and requests as well as non-stop messaging from my family members. He didn't know my phone was going nuts, nor did he know I was stressed out by it, but he just so happened to send me 28 AI-generated images. For some reason, they all came through individually, only adding to the non-stop vibrations of my phone and my stress. I told him that his art was not art, nor did he create it himself. I told him I know how AI art is generated, and that I'm tired of seeing it. All of the images look vaguely similar, and I simply don't care. I told him I'm tired of him almost fishing for compliments for something he didn't make himself, and all he did was type a phrase or submit an image to make these things that are driving me crazy. He got instantly upset with me and said that he did create them himself, because had he not initiated the prompt in the AI bot, they would never have happened. I told him he was wrong, and now we're bickering. And yes, we're adults in our 30s. It's hard to touch grass. I wish we were appreciated more, but oh well. Frown, they're cute and small and I love them. I also feel cute myself for having small ones. Ladies with small boobs, you should love them too. I didn't always, but anymore when I see an USA flag, especially on a private residence or a truck, I just immediately think, racist, idiot, and a bunch more negative things, and it pisses me off. I shouldn't be that way and I don't want it to be that way, but it is. My own flag disgusts me now. Yesterday I realized that I want to live my life in ignorance. There is too much bad news, constantly, every single day. I'm sick and tired of it. If it's not COVID, it's cost of living. If it's not the cost of living, it's health. If it's not health, it's friendships. There's just always something negative going on. Hardly do you hear anything good, like the economy is getting better, the general health of society is getting better. It's just always bad, and I'm losing the will to live. Not in a suicidal way, I'm just over it.